Apple is scheduled to report its quarterly earnings after the closing bell, and Chief Executive Tim Cook will update investors on how the quarter played out and what they're going to expect going forward. So joining us now to talk all about it is Jeremy Kaplan. He's editor-in-chief over at digitaltrends.com. And Jeremy, one of the single biggest factors for Apple continues to be the phone. We know the vast majority of sales and profits come from it. Consumers failed to fall in love, so to speak, with the 6S and 6S Plus models as much as perhaps some of the predecessor models. What's the reason for the possible slowdown? How did it impact the quarter? And I guess the big overarching question is, have we hit peak smartphone?
Maybe, I don't know if it's peak smartphone so much as peak iPhone. I think that the unfortunate reality, the hard truth here, is that Apple has become a very boring company. And Apple is the company that we look to for innovation for so long. Apple is the company whose products we fell in love with. And the reality is that today's iPhone looks a lot like last year's iPhone, and next year's, or the one coming out later on this year, is going to look exactly like the current one. That's kind of boring. And I think what we've been seeing is a reaction to that. Customers just saying, you know what, I don't need to get this. It's the same product.
All right, so that's the same product for a phone, but there's another product out there, and that's the Apple Watch. What are your thoughts about the Apple Watch? How would you describe it, and what would you say about the product itself? Is it a success, not a success?
Apple's phones became so instrumental to our lives, they really changed the entire world. Let's be honest, this company changed the whole world. Did the watch do the same thing? I don't think so. A lot of consumers were excited this was something new and different, the first really new product category Apple had entered in years. And then the watch came out and people played around with it and said, oh, this really isn't for me. It hasn't proved itself to be vital to my life. It hasn't changed what I do. And that's why we saw sales, what you're going to hear from Tim Cook at least, is that sales of the watch were not particularly exciting, if he even bothers to tell us what the sales were. They were such a small little blip, I think, that Apple really didn't make a big hoo-ah with that. The reality is, as you're pointing out, that iPhone sales are the bulk of Apple's profits. They're 2/3 of what the company earns. And when the iPhone sales slump, the entire company slumps. That's what's going on here.
All right, so let's talk about some of the other parts of the business besides the iPhone and the Apple Watch, so to speak. Earlier this year, in order to kind of highlight the growth picture at Apple, it started breaking out some of the revenues numbers from its services business. That includes like the App Store, iTunes, the mobile payment side of things, Apple Pay. What are you expecting about the services picture for Apple this time around? It seems to be a place where they've been trying to highlight the amount of growth that they're getting.
A lot of technology companies are doing this. They're looking to services as a way to have a continuing revenue stream. And it makes an incredible amount of sense from a business. And Apple has a lot of different ways that they can take money from you as a customer. And there are a lot of services that are actually doing fairly well for the company, but that remains a small portion of what they're doing. It makes a lot of sense from a business perspective, however. And I was saying before that Apple's boring. Apple has become a wonderfully smart business. It's a machine that keeps on churning over and over again. And Tim Cook, honestly, is a great businessman. That's what he's done. He has proved not to be the visionary that we all hoped him to be, though, which is, I think, the real problem here, that we haven't seen the inspiration, we haven't seen the vision, we haven't heard the transformative new products. And if you ask me, I think what we should hope for from today's call, the earnings call, is going to be a complete change from the company, a peek under the kimono. I think Apple needs to announce something that we've never heard before. We need to hear some news about this car. We need to hear about a TV, something that's just going to inspire everyone to say, I have to get the new phone that's coming out because it's going to do something I've never heard of before. And if they don't do that, I think we're going to expect continued weak earnings over the next couple of months, if not even years, until we get something that's just changing lives.
All right, so you mentioned a lot of different things in that last answer for our question here. What do you think is going to be?
I'm excited. What can I say?
I know you are excited. So let's talk about it. We've been a little bit more tilted towards what Apple is not doing correctly. What could they announce this time around, this afternoon? What could they say on this conference call today that would make people or investors get really excited about the stock again?
So I think the big thing is going to be the car thing. We know that Apple is working on Apple cars, and what we don't know is details about that. We've heard stories about who they've hired, where they're going, what their vision might be. We haven't heard it from Apple. So are they working on an Apple car, a self-driving vehicle that they themselves might sell? Wow, that's really interesting, and I bet that the stock would respond. I bet customers would respond to something like that. Is that in the works, though? We have no idea. Apple traditionally is incredibly quiet about this kind of stuff. So that's just one area they might expand into.
All right, so it sounds like there are a lot of things to look for, maybe just a little bit of speculation about what they could say, but for the most part, we're expecting perhaps just a run-of-the-mill earnings report, but it'll be about the future. Thank you so much, Jeremy Kaplan, for joining us. Jeremy Kaplan over there, digitaltrends.com. And thanks for watching. I'm Dominic Chu. Have a great day.
Hey CNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Here you're going to find videos packed with all of the information that you need to be smarter about your finances. You can subscribe by clicking right here and click on all the videos around me or the eye right here to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.